amigos are we, brother to brother and everyone, a brave amigo. Wherever they need us, our destinies lead us, amigos, we're always together.
Hello and welcome to episode 10 of the Three Amigos FPL show. I'm your host, FPL Marple, and alongside me as always are my amigos Mars and Dale. Joining us tonight, fresh from his own Getting to Know You grilling, is Danny Jamieson. Welcome to the Three Amigos show, Danny.
Thank you very much, gents. It's good to be here.
How is this season going for you in FPL? What's your rank like, and what's it like feeling the pressure of Mark Sutherland's trying to live up to that every week?
I mean, I think I've given up trying to live up to Mark Sutherland's. He's an absolute machine. This season has been incredibly frustrating from beginning to end because I've made pretty much every single decision in my mind has been perfectly correct, and yet I've made them at the complete wrong time. So I gave up on Kevin De Bruyne just as he went on a mad tear. Gave up on Riyad Mahrez just before he went on a mad tear. Like the theory was sound, but the timing was absolutely appalling.
Tell me, is it one of them things actually with you when you're on TV? We know from being on the podcast, you do feel a certain amount of pressure to do well, like, and keep your rank up there. Now, this season has been an absolute disaster for me. But when you're on TV and stuff, and you know that you're going to be interacting with FPL fans, is there a lot of pressure to kind of to be successful at it, more than there would be normally?
Yeah, there probably is, but the way I look at it is my performance. I think is almost irrelevant, really, because what I'm doing is trying to do all of the research that a lot of people don't have time to do for them. So I'm spending all week pouring through Opta data and looking at trends and things like that, and looking at the underlying numbers, and whether I capitalise on that or not, I don't think it's particularly important. Hopefully, some of it. So what we try and do is to give people information that they might not necessarily know themselves, might not necessarily have been able to come across themselves, and hopefully they can use that then to become better at the game and to do better than they would otherwise have done. So as long as someone finds what we're finding out quite useful, that seems, to my mind, that is my job done, whether my team is doing particularly well or, in this case, not.
That's the way I've tried to look at this season too. Is definitely I'm trying to do the research, talk on the podcast, and I love when I hear people are doing well, and I'm kind of hoping they do well. But yeah, this season has definitely not been one where I'm particularly hopeful for my own team. No, it's great. It's great to hear that you enjoy when you give benefit to your listeners and your viewers. Lads, Mars, Dale, how was game week 32 for you? How many points did we rack up?
I got 67 in the end, which I was really happy with, considering I was on 27 come Sunday morning. So I was an Arsenal fan for a day. I was actually boarding a plane, as I put on Twitter, and then when I landed, I saw 0-0. I was like, oh no. And then as I was going through the passport control, I was celebrating Boomerang scoring his second, and didn't actually know about the penalty or anything like that he'd given to Lacazette. But yeah, overall I was happy. I was active on wildcard. I made that quite obvious. Happy with my choices, and yeah, wildcard is for all the game weeks, not just for game week 32. That's what I'm telling myself anyway.
Yeah, funny enough, when you were in the air, because you said you were in the air, you were WhatsApping us saying you were in the air, and I was thinking it'd be good April Fools if I direct messaged around a load of people in the community and said, at 3:30 or whatever time I thought you might be landing, just everyone tweet up Aubameyang hat-trick, can't believe it. And but as it happened, he scored 2, so it wouldn't have been as effective. A joke. But tell us, Dale, how was 32 for you? You did better than Marzi, didn't you?
Yeah, 32 was good for me. I wasn't on a wild card, but I still managed 73 points. Aubameyang captain paid off. My little differential in Chris Wood also did some business. So yeah, I was really happy. Can't complain at all.
Good stuff.
Did you even take any
Danny,
hits?
No, I took hits, and I ended on 73 as well. But I'm nicely set up now for the remaining game weeks, so I'm fairly happy. Danny, how many points are you looking at in game week 32?
I managed 61 on the old wild card, which I was relatively happy about. Saturday, I was on for, bar that late sickener from West Brom, I was on for every single player that I had playing to give me some sort of return, which was a first. But then, of course, that late consolation kind of set me up for a relatively disappointing Sunday.
Yeah, that one would have been lovely. That was a disappointing one, all right. But how are you actually doing for chips? How many have you got left? Have you got your free hit and you're on the wild card, but your free hit and your triple captain? You still got them?
Oh yes, they're still firmly in my back pocket.
Excellent stuff.
Yes, Danny. Join the club. Yeah, these boys don't even know what chips are anymore. They ate them all.
Oh, have you all used them all?
I've got bench boost.
No, I have my triple captain and my bench boost left, but the wild card was gone from New Year's Eve. I think I hit I hit my wild card button, my second one, because I was sick of looking at my team. But yeah, myself and Dale don't have this season. We haven't shown a whole lot of patience, shall we say? And every week Mars has been enjoying his plate full of chips.
It'd be great, right? It'd be great to have the chips available, but they're not. And to be honest, I'm still confident of navigating 35 and 37 and 34 pretty handily. So yeah, I'm not too worried.
You're going to use your superior intellect. Chef, what takeaways have you got from game week 32? Any lessons you learnt?
Always captain Aubameyang when he's playing someone rubbish. Pretty much. Southampton still look gone. Mark Hughes is another fraud of a manager getting a job. It went pretty much as expected, I think. Manchester City still look amazing. They absolutely battered Everton. I saw a crazy stat that Everton had 19% possession and Fernandinho saw 14.5% of possession in the whole game.
What was your thinking actually on one thing I thought was interesting was Arsenal. There was like a lot in the first half, people going same old Arsenal, they're a bunch of frauds. Wenger, he's not really getting them playing and stuff. And then obviously the second half was considerably different. But what's your thoughts on the way Arsenal are looking, and like, do you think that we can kind of rely on them for the close of the season?
Well, the pressure's off them. You know, when there's no pressure on them, they're brilliant. They've got a great run of games, and it's Arsenal territory when it comes to the back end of the season, putting it together when it don't matter. So, yeah, I think we can. I really do.
Yeah, good stuff. Marzi, what's your talking point of the week? Have you any rant that you want to go on? We normally, Danny, we let Mars off with about a 2 or 3 minute rant so he gets it out of the system.
Yeah, that's probably wise.
No ranting, but actually it was something that was triggered by a question from Aaron at Aaron FPL or FPL Aaron. And it was basically, he was asking us which one of us is the best manager. Now, thinking around, we just talked about a fraud, Mark Hughes, another fraud gone today from West Brom, Padru. And then, you look around, there's so many managers that you think, how? And I've always fancied that's probably the job that I'd want if people ask you. So, boys, between us and Danny, you're welcome to chip in. Who do you think is the best manager? Because as much as I think I'll make a good manager, I think based on the tactics that I hear every week, Dale would be my shout.
Dale will be good tactically, but I don't think I'd be good because I've coached underage for my kids' team, and my problem is that I'm too friendly. I start having a bit of a laugh. I start having a bit of a laugh. After a while, chaos breaks out, and
we get away with murder with you on WhatsApp. We get away with murder. Yeah. we can do anything, and we just say sorry, and you're like, okay, don't worry, boys. No, seriously, I'm not upset. I'm not mad.
Yeah.
Especially me.
I don't get mad. I just get even, lads. Nice one. Come here, we'll move on. Will we move on to the topics of the week? Of course, there's only one man that everyone's kind of talking about, and I'm sure Danny will be hearing you and your friends at the official FPL talking about it this week. Well, that is, of course, Harry Kane. He was a second half substitute for Spurs against Chelsea, and for many managers, game week 32 effectively became an audition for the other premium forward positions or options to see who should hold their place and who should be sacrificed to make room for him ahead of double game week 34. Spurs play Stoke in game week 33 before Man City at home and then Brighton away in double game week 34. Danny, looking at those fixtures, how high of a priority is it to get Kane in ahead of his game week 35 blank game week? And what do you see as the knock-on effect for Son owners? Our listener FPL Jamal was wondering if Son will retain his place.
Oh, it's a giant spanner in my plans. I was hoping that he'd be out for another week so I could do a nice seamless transition between him and Romelu Lukaku, who's currently...
Yeah, it's a real headache, isn't it?
It's really quite annoying. I think it probably doesn't bode that well for Son. I know there's a guy who's for Spurs at work who's convinced that Kane comes straight back in. So I'm not really sure how Mauricio Pochettino is going to work that. But I think he's got to be an absolute priority, hasn't he? There's a great interview, I think it might be in the Independent today, where he's talking about this little break has kept him fresh and he wants to come back and win the Golden Boot, which of course I think he's 4 goals behind Mo Salah at the minute. And if he ends the season like he did last year, then that's a lot of points that you don't want to be missing out on. So he is right at the top of my list now. Have a little look out on Thursday because I've got a video planned on exactly this topic.
Lovely.
Inside information coming to you from the Three Amigos.
There you go.
We're breaking news all over the place, lads. The Marsley high on the hit list, of course, is Bobby Firmino and Jamie Vardy, who have 24 and 20 points respectively in the last 5 game weeks. Both have, of course, different circumstances, with Vardy having a double game week 34 to look forward to and Firmino's Liverpool not blanking in game week 35. But how do you look at these two players, and are they worthy of selling for Kane? For those managers with the funds to make that move. Our listeners, FPL Connect and FPL Fox, were specifically wondering about which of Bobby Firmino or Kane will score more in the next 3 game weeks.
I mean, it's hard to predict who's going to score more, but if let's look at some of the facts that we know. Liverpool have got a couple of tough games coming up. So you've got the derby, and then you've got the two games against City. Will Klopp rotate? He's rotated in the derby before, so why not, right? If you look at Kane, right? So he's going to play Stoke away, and then he's got again a double game week. So you've got Man City and Brighton, and also there's the Cup to consider. Now, this is just my opinion personally, and maybe more my wish rather than my opinion. I can see them playing Stoke. They don't need Kane to beat Stoke. So potentially he could rest him for the Stoke game or use him if needed and play him against City. And then potentially rest again for the Cup. Now, this is just me guessing. He could go and play. If the question is, I've got Firmino and I've got the money in the bank to bring Kane in, then I would say if you have a free hit, why not? Because yes, we've done it before where you jump on a striker, but I would do it if I had that. Now I can't because I need 2 transfers to get Kane in without decimating my team, and I don't plan on doing it. And I'm just hoping that he stays quiet against Stoke, and then I'll make a decision for double game week 34, either bring him in or Lukaku and seeing what happens. That would be my plan.
Yeah, I think I'm planning on Firmino, and I think I'm going to try to hold on till after the blank game week, and then get him in for the last 3 game weeks. I'm just hoping that he won't punish me too badly. But Dale, the other 2 players managers are weighing up for Kane, of course, is Arsenal's Pierre-Emerick Aubameyang, or Boomerang as we call him on this show. And perhaps Alvaro Morata, who people might have gotten in with an eye on Chelsea's 2 big upcoming double game weeks. Let's focus mainly on Boomerang. Do you recommend selling or keeping the man who could have had a hat-trick, of course, against Stoke City?
No, definitely not. Arsenal fixtures are pretty good, and he's proven himself to be pretty clinical. He did the business at Dortmund. And Arsenal paid what they paid for him, and I wouldn't be selling him at all, not at all. He's got 12.6% ownership, so it's a differential in himself. You don't even have to captain him and he's still gonna gain rank with him. Arsenal got Southampton, Newcastle, West Ham in the next 3, so they're 3 very winnable games. I think in 33 against Southampton looked gone. Hughes ain't going to do nothing. That guy's a fraud. And I think Arsenal it'll be a comfortable 2-3-0 win against them. Newcastle are safe, so just about, aren't they? So I think that, Newcastle will probably just go on to autopilot mode now. And West Ham are a funny team. They could turn up, they might not, but I'd definitely be keeping them for the next 3. And then, of course, he's got the double in 37 with Burnley and probably Leicester. So, the fixtures are amazing. I won't be going nowhere near Alvaro Morata at all. I wouldn't be going. I'd be selling Chelsea assets. I've said it. You guys will know this. I've been saying this for weeks that Chelsea look done. That I think Conte is going. I think the players know it. I think some of the players are probably on the plane for the World Cup, and they just don't look like they're going to do anything, Chelsea, at all. We might even see Conte go before the end of the season because, we all know what Abramovich's patience is like. So I wouldn't be going nowhere near any Chelsea players.
Yeah, my main kind of litmus test was kind of their Spurs game there. I was thinking if they were going to make a late season push, that would be the one that they'd do
they had
it
to
in.
Win
but,
that game. They had to win that game. And Spurs decimated them.
By the way, I completely agree with Dale. Just to touch on Vardy, because that was another one that people mentioned. Again, if you have the funds to move Vardy to Kane, I would say Kane has a higher ceiling than Vardy. Vardy seems to get consistent, but Kane could easily go mad in one game. The thing is, it really is going to depend on whether you have a free hit or wild carding or not. Because if you bring Kane in for one game or a couple of games and then he's blanking again, you just have to be careful about the movement that you make in between the players. You're chasing or you're hoping somebody does something. If they are rested, then you've wasted a transfer. So Vardy, maybe. Firmino, yes, if you don't have to do a -4. I agree with Dale on Boomerang. I wouldn't move him because there's nothing saying that Kane would outscore Boomerang next game week.
I think as well, just to touch on Kane, there's about 3 million difference between Firmino and Kane. Now that 3 million can set you up well for 34. You've got, let's say you've got a keeper who's about 5 million, and you could upgrade him to De Gea. You want your United goalie for that double, and then you got your pick of the United defence as well. So that 3 million could upgrade to your back line.
Yeah,
and,
I see what you're saying there, but I think 3 million from Kane is well spent if he was guaranteed to play and firing like at the end of last season. But I genuinely believe there is like a grey cloud at the moment. Is he going to play against Stoke? We're not sure. Then
I think he will. I think he will play. I think he might just get 60. But to be fair, he could do the damage in that 60.
Exactly.
But then it's an add-on. But then Firmino could match him easily. So it's
he could do. But you've got City as well. City's not an easy game for Spurs. They could blank.
Depends what he does, doesn't it? Depends
exactly.
what Pep does. Depends if he rotates.
That's the one thing that worries me about Harry Kane. If you don't have him in, the last 4 games that Spurs have played against Stoke, he has 8 goals, and Spurs have won them by, I think it's 14-0.
That's the other side of the absolutely.
Yeah.
That's the other side of the coin. Yeah.
Stoke are fighting for their lives, aren't they? And usually Stoke are done at this point of the season.
Yeah, but they used to be the team that you would dread to play. I honestly don't believe they are what they used to be. Even they're probably a bit stronger at home. I'll give them that.
One thing though, as Danny said there, with the with Kane and with Spurs against them, I do actually sometimes believe them things in terms of a team having a bit of a bogey team that literally always smashes them. But also the thing with Kane's ownership is still high, despite the fact that he's been out. His ownership is very high, and it could actually be a really costly thing for people. Now, I don't think it'll be as costly for people who are really high up in the ranks, because the people who they're competing against, they're going to have gotten rid of Kane. But I think lower down there is a lot of people carrying Harry Kane that haven't actually shipped them out. And if he does bang in these last games and we don't have him in, then people's rank could really drop.
I think at the end of the day, it's a balance of, do you think the players that you have today will outscore Kane? Or is it worth to take a -4 or -8? I've seen some people looking at -8 to bring in Kane for one game, hoping he gets a haul. And only you can make that decision. You as in the player, not you, Don. Just, you know.
Yeah, I have you, fellas. I think we've covered Kane up enough. So we'll move on to, of course, this game week coming up is two massive big derbies in Manchester and Merseyside. Dale, come to you first on this one. How do you typically view derbies from an FPL point of view? The obvious bonus, as much as Mars mentioned earlier on, that Klopp doesn't always do it in terms of picking his strongest lineup. Managers generally do pick their strongest available lineup, but they're typically tight affairs. Are both of those notions overstated, or is there truth to that?
So yeah, the Manchester derby is typically a tight affair. Out of the last 6, it's been either 0-0 or it's been decided by 1 goal. The way you typically look at this one is it'll be on Twitter and in the media is it's Pep v Jose. And I was looking at the stats, and out of 20 games, Pep has 9 wins and there's been 7 draws and Jose has 4 wins. So the odds favour Man City, I would say. But Mars has already mentioned that he might rotate. I mean, I've got De Gea. I'm hoping for a superhuman performance from him, where he breaks his records for saves in a game.
What do you think of the article about Pep saying that he's going to rotate players in public and also telling them privately? Do you think it's mind games, or do you think it's for real?
I don't know. I'd hate to say it. I mean, you've mentioned it. I think it was last week, Mars, that once the league's won, or more or less won, Guardiola typically rotates his full 11.
Yeah, he did it at Barcelona and he did it at Munich.
Yeah, so but at the end of the day, it's a big game. I think Jose is going to definitely be coming to get a result and spoil the day. He's had a lot of critics this season, and if he goes to the Etihad and gets a result, then it quietens them critics.
You know what? It wouldn't surprise me if he does the complete opposite and go, you know what? People are saying this is going to be a big game. I'm going to put my second team out. I don't care. I've got a cup game. That's more important. It really would not surprise me if Jose does that. Just because it's about him.
But just to move on to the Merseyside derby a minute. This one, I've been looking at the results for this one. And before, when you sent me the question earlier, in my head I thought, you know what? I don't really remember very many tight games or low scoring games, and there's in this fixture there's typically goals. In the last 10 years there's only been 2-0 nils, but the odds favour Liverpool again. I mean, the last time Everton won a Merseyside derby was 17th of October 2010. And the way Everton played against Man City was abject, and I fancy Liverpool just to blow them away. Absolutely, especially if Klopp plays a strong side. I've got triple Liverpool cover, and I'm not moving any of them on.
They've been waiting for this game, right? This is their cup final.
Oh yeah, but again, Klopp knows what it means to the fans. Yeah, you might see some rotation. Mane, Salah, whatever. They might see 60 minutes or whatever, but the damage can be done, especially by Liverpool. I have my jabs about them on Twitter, but I'm only fishing. That as a football team, I really admire them. And yeah, I think Liverpool, even in 60 minutes, this game could be 3-4-0 because Everton are done for me.
Danny, we're going to talk to you in a second actually about one thing we want a lot of people are talking about is David De Gea and the Manchester United defence in general for this coming game against City. But what's your thoughts on the Pep rotation like towards the end of the season? The lads were talking about there that it is typically something that he has done, rotated a lot when the season is pretty much wrapped up. But what's your feeling on it? I don't expect you to have any inside info on what Man City are going to do, but what's your thoughts on it?
Yeah, unfortunately, I don't have any inside information at City. I know this game comes right in the middle of the Champions League against Liverpool. I just can't see him rotating against Manchester United. This is the biggest game of the season. I mean, I don't want to show off or anything, but I'll be there on Saturday with work all day, talking to some fans before the game and after the game. I just cannot see any situation where he puts anything less than his A team out, because what better way is there for him and for that team to win the league than to beat Manchester United at home and to beat Jose Mourinho? And look, having said that, he plays his B team. That B team will probably finish top 4 anyway, so it's not really too much weaker. But I can't see the ones that will be relevant for us. I can't see any of those being dropped. I think Jesus and Sterling will play.
I don't disagree with you. Just last thing for me on this one, I just think that Pep might want to show people sometimes that, you should go with your head over your heart. And he's already kind of hinting at that. Yes, he would love to beat United, but he wants to win the Champions League. So he will do whatever it means. And I think it's all going to depend on the result from the first leg. We should know a lot more after Wednesday. What teams will get. If it's tight, I expect rotation. If it's not, then I expect a stronger team.
That's a great point. That's a really, really good point.
Yeah, and Danny, as I mentioned there, David De Gea, a lot of people, he's been obviously superhuman this season and probably the best goalkeeper in the world at the moment. But a lot of people are actually talking about possibly benching him against City. For managers who've planned it correctly, they'll have a playing game week 35 keeper on the bench behind Big Dave. But firstly, would you agree with the idea of benching him? And if so, what bench level keepers would you play ahead of him in game week 33? One of our listeners, Mig Tavius, actually, I wanted to give him a bit of a shout. One of our listeners was, he was talking about looking at Lozil over Dave.
Personally, I wouldn't be benching him. I don't think you spend that much money on a goalkeeper to leave him on your bench, no matter who they're playing. Also, I was looking at Man United's results away against the other top teams, looking at his performance in particular. Game week 8 at Liverpool, they drew 0-0, 9 points, 5 saves and a couple of bonus. At Chelsea, game week 11, fine, they lose 1-0, but 7 saves for 4 points. Game week 15 at Arsenal, that game, 8 points from 14 saves and 2 bonus points. So you look at these results at Spurs as well. Fine, they conceded twice, lose 2-0, 5 saves a game. I don't think you can really drop him, because even when they're losing and even when they're conceding, he's putting up ludicrous save numbers. So I think it's worth gambling on them maybe keeping City at bay and maybe hoping for a little bit of rotation. And you never know, they could very easily end up keeping a clean sheet. Not many teams have done it, I should probably point out. My beloved Wigan Athletic are one of them, and the only team to both keep a clean sheet and beat them in the same game this season. But I think it's worth chasing that. No matter who you have on your bench, really, unless you're feeling really, really good about a clean sheet and a few saves, I think I'd stick with De Gea.
That's great plug for your Wigan there.
I had to.
Yeah, Marzi, there appears to be no reason to fear starting any of your Liverpool assets against Everton, who looked abject against Man City. But what is your recommended strategy for Man United and Man City players this weekend? Are you in fear of any of them?
I touched on it earlier, saying wait and see what happens in the game between Liverpool and City, because we should have a clear picture with regards to the City players. I don't have any City players in my team, mainly because they don't have a double, and also because I want to see what happens after the double. So for the 37, it's interesting really listening to Danny, and he's absolutely spot on about De Gea. You don't spend that much money to bench a keeper. I'm saying it's interesting because I've got De Gea and I've got Ryan, and at the moment Ryan is in my team, but it's kind of playing on my mind, and I don't know. I need to think about it. I think I'll probably be scared and end up switching back, because I don't want to rely on Brighton keeping a clean sheet, even if it's against Huddersfield. So I would say play your best team and have good bench players that might come in. We can't guess the rotation, but we can just we can use the information that we have the best that we can be.
Yeah, one thing that's actually I kind of like to go by for fantasy football is one thing I actually learned from, as we were talking earlier on about NFL fantasy football. is to make the decision that you'll be most able to live with afterwards. And I think that's one of those things. If you bench De Gea and you put in someone like Ryan for him, I mean, he's not going to come up with that many save points, first of all. He's not going to, and a late goal conceded, and all of a sudden you're looking at nothing, and De Gea then of course does as Danny was saying, and comes up with a load of save points, possibly a clean sheet, and you're going, what on earth was I thinking of benching De Gea? And it's one of the things, you make the decision that you're able to live with best afterwards.
Huddersfield haven't scored the goal in March. I know we're in April now, but they didn't score a single goal in March. But it could be the game for Quena or Munia or Devote to come up and just ruin that clean sheet for anybody who plays Ryan, potentially. Like you said, anything can happen, and I completely agree with you. Go with your gut, and yeah, agree with you.
Yeah. One thing, actually, a stat for Man City, they've scored an average of 3.4 goals per home game this season. So De Gea definitely will have his work cut out to keep that clean sheet. Lads, we'll move on to some additional listener questions. We covered a few of them there during our big topics breakdown. But first one coming to you, Danny, on this one. This is from Joseph Allegretti. He was asking, if you have Aubameyang, Barnes and Lukaku up front, would you hold the transfer, or would you bring Kane in for Lukaku this week and then bring Lukaku back for Aubameyang on your bench boost in game week 34?
Personally speaking, I don't like sketching out fixed transfers that far in advance, because you've no idea what might happen this weekend. Like, none of us saw Harry Kane getting back for Spurs yesterday on the weekend, did we? So I never like rigidly planning it like that, because you could have, Mo Salah could break down over the weekend. He could tear his hamstring. We've no idea what could happen. So I'm never too keen on making moves as intricately as that. I don't really think you can lose with any of Kane, Lukaku or Aubameyang. I think, as you were saying earlier, make the decision that you can most live with after the fact. No matter which one you go for, I think you can legitimately justify that to yourself as the correct decision to make at the time. So, personally speaking, I would probably not jump the gun on Harry Kane, because we don't know what the state of that ankle is. Fine, he played against Chelsea, but this is the same ankle he's injured 3 times in 18 months. So I would maybe hold fire on that, because the last thing you want to do is to bring Kane in for Lukaku. Lukaku was mental against who they got this weekend, against City or against West Brom and Bournemouth, and then you're left with an injured Harry Kane in your squad. So I would probably leave it as it is for the moment and hold on. And if Harry Kane gets through this weekend, fine, maybe bring him in for the double,
yeah.
But I wouldn't be planning a big player being transferred in and out like that in the next 3 weeks, because you just no idea what might happen injury-wise, as we've seen already several times this season. Yeah,
it often doesn't work out all right, even though I can't believe you actually said that Salah might pick up an injury. If it happens, I will eternally blame you, Danny.
I'm so sorry. I didn't mean it. I'll take it back.
Tell us, Mars, move on to the next question, which is single game week players for the double game week. Outside of Mo Salah, are there any other single game week players who played too well to be overlooked due to not having a double game week 34? John Smith, Spurs, was asking specifically Arnie, who of course did well at the weekend.
Yeah, I mean, you need to look at who they're playing. So, for example, Arnie's playing Chelsea, so derby, and West Ham have already beaten Chelsea, and we're saying that Chelsea, rightly so, are not really at the races, and they've got a big cup game coming up. And then they play Stoke at home. That's his old team. You could only see his frustration or anger when he scored, looking at dugout, probably looking at Mark Hughes. So he'll probably want to, I know Mark Hughes not at Stoke, but he'll probably want to score against his old club. So if you have Arnie, who would you bring in for him at that price, at about 6.9 or 7, I think he is? Who would you bring in? Willian? I wouldn't be bringing in Willian. So you keep him. Other players, for example, you look at Arsenal. They've got Southampton and Newcastle. Why would you sell their players? Again, it's unless you're selling Boomerang after the Southampton game for somebody like Lukaku or Kane, who have a double, you keep him because Arsenal could easily put, okay, they play Newcastle away from home. It's not a tough game. They could win. Other players then I was looking at the other single teams. So you got Crystal Palace are playing Brighton at home. If you have Zaha, yeah, potentially, but nothing else excites me there. You keep away from Huddersfield. Watford are playing Huddersfield. I've seen a lot of teams with Watford defenders. Just said Huddersfield are not big scorers. If you don't have a free hit and you've got players that are playing a single game week but have got a game in 35, don't ship them out because you're just going to lose points anyway. So there's not. When you lose a -4 or a -8, you need a player to score once, twice, 3 times to just make up the points that you've just lost. So it's it depends on who they're playing and who you're bringing them in for and what chips you have.
Yeah, great answer, Mersey. Dale, this one's coming from John G, Grifters United. He was asking, he's going to be playing his free hit chip soon. He did okay, actually. One thing he's talking about is his budget team. So he did okay in his main team with a balanced squad rather than forward loading. What's your take on best options for a lineup for a budget team where squad value is fixed by having 25 million in the bank? So it's a bit of a different format, but what's your thinking on that?
Yeah, it's a new one on me. I haven't really seen this before, but yeah, I'd be, if you've got a 75, well, it'll be around 75 million budget. You want to be looking at, for the short term at least, I think, like we said before, Huddersfield and Brighton need to get a move on if they want to stay up. So Maz just said that Huddersfield haven't scored in March, so they're due a goal. So I'd maybe have a little go on Huddersfield striker because they are due a goal. I think defence-wise, you need to look at the Burnley budget options as well, like Lawton and Tarkowski. If to build from the back, because their fixtures are pretty good. They've only got one hard one. I'd be looking at Swansea because I fancy them to do all right and stay up. Alfie Mawson at 5.1. He could be like, yeah, I'm guessing like that's about your premium signing in defence if you've only got a 75 million budget. Midfield, got Millie. I can never get his name right, so forgive me before everyone starts sending us dogs abuse on Twitter. Milivojevic, I think I said that right. Just because Crystal Palace have had about 97 penalties this year and he never misses.
Will Hughes is the one, actually, is one I like. Watford. I was speaking with Tom Campbell on Twitter earlier on today, but he was one that he's bigged up in the past.
Yeah, Will Hughes, football manager legend, Will Hughes. Yeah, he might do something. I'm not keen on Watford, but yeah, maybe.
4.6 is good. It's a decent differential on even some of the other Watford players. So he's someone I keep an eye on myself.
For sure. And I think if you premium striker for that range, it'd probably be someone who I gave a shout out to last week, who I said would do well, and he tipped up with 9 points, is Chris Wood, 6.2 million. So he's probably a premium striker in the budget league.
Good stuff. Thanks, me and Dale. I think John can be happy enough with his answers there tonight. This is one for all of us. So Danny, I'll come to you first on it. FBL Stag was asking, if you had scored twice already and your team had a penalty, would you give it to a teammate?
Probably not, but I did quite like what Aubameyang did, because it's been a long time since Lacazette has scored. I think that's the sign of a good teammate, frankly. I was a defender of my entire career, so I very rarely got on the score sheet. So if I had the chance of a hat-trick, I would be giving it up to nobody.
Yeah, it's kind of like a fella in a nightclub trying to help his ugly mate at picking up a bird. Like, it's that was what it reminded me of when I saw it. But Dale, give you the next answer on this. I know what you're going to say. If you scored twice already, what'd you do?
No. Simple as, not a chance. Never, ever. not going to happen, not a chance. It was my captain. I was raging. No way.
Yeah, we heard your Danny, your accent impression on the Getting to Know You podcast, but that's my best Yorkshire in is no.
Very good, very good.
Marzi, tell us your answer to this one too.
Are you mad?
You mad, bro?
Are you mad?
Dizzy blood.
I wouldn't do it, mainly just like Danny. I was also a defender, and me scoring a hat trick never happens. But just have that. I have that feeling that if he had taken it, he would have missed. So as a captain, I'm happy he didn't miss. I'm just gonna take the 13 points and be happy.
Great, excellent stuff. Fellas, we'll move on to the game week preview and captain pick section of the show. So we're going to just look at the upcoming fixtures, and I'll come to you, Danny, first on it. What fixtures are catching your eye in game week 33 as being of concern or indeed appealing for fantasy managers? And you can also give us your Barlow and Baldwin captain picks.
Okay, looking at this week, I say the one that would worry me a touch is Leicester v Newcastle, because a lot of people seem to have gone rather big on Leicester. Vardy, Mahrez and a defender, or Kasper Schmeichel, seem to be incredibly popular, particularly with anyone who's wildcarding. But I saw quite a bit of Newcastle at the weekend, and they're on quite a run of form at the minute. They've only been beaten by I think it's Liverpool and Man City, are the only teams to have beaten them in 2018. And we're in April. So I would be concerned about them going to Leicester. They're very good defensively, and I can see a lot of people ended up with some frustrating blanks from their Leicester players. I could very easily see Newcastle getting something out of that game, so that would concern me greatly. In terms of captain picks, I mean, the most obvious and most boring one, it would have to be Mo Salah, simply because of how many people own him and how many people will just give him the captaincy without really thinking. So if you want to avoid any great drops, then I suppose he's probably the boring one. If you want to be a little bit frisky, well, how about Burnley going to Watford, who aren't very good, and both Burnley strikers are in absolute sensational form. Never mind Chris Wood, you've got the Barnstormer next to him, scored in 4 in a row. I'd certainly be giving one of those a look. Chris Wood, I really like the look of. He's really impressed me, the way he stepped up from Leeds in the Championship last year, where I thought he was excellent. He's really impressed me when he's been on the pitch, and I think he could be one of those who ends up finishing strongly now he's fit, because I think it's 4 goals and assists in the last 3, which is pretty good. I'd take that all day long. Yeah. So he'd probably be the frisky one for me.
Lovely stuff. Yeah, no, the Wood was Dale's frisky pick, actually, his bold one last week. But it'd be interesting to see if he's going to stick with him this week. Who are you going for, Dale, as your Barlow and Baldwin? And what's the fixtures that you're looking at in 33 that you really like the look of or you dislike?
So my Barlow's got to be Aubameyang. It's got to be. Southampton are in all kinds of trouble. And Mark Hughes isn't going to do nothing. Like I've said it about 5 times already, but he's a fraud. So Aubameyang to hopefully get the hat-trick this time. My Barlow pick, you'll like this one, Mars, is going to be Virgil van Dijk. I fancy Liverpool to absolutely batter Everton, keep a clean sheet, and the big man popping up from a corner with an header, top corner.
We've been waiting for that.
So there's my two
if we keep saying that every week, some week we're going to be right, and we can just give ourselves a parade. We called it in Three Amigos. The fixture the fixture that I actually catching my eye, but probably the opposite of Danny, is I'm Leicester v Newcastle. I think Leicester might turn it on. Vardy wants his England place and Mahrez wants his big move. So I'm thinking the opposites to Danny on that fixture, and that one's really catching my eye. Great stuff. Bit of controversy. I like it. Marzi, tell us who is your Barlow and Baldwin and any games that are catching your eye?
So, I agree with Dale. Barlow, Boomerang. Probably sticking with him for this game week before he leaves the VIPs. Frisky will be, or Baldwin will be. Again, I agree with Dale on the game. So I think, I mean, what Danny said is absolutely spot on. Newcastle are fighting for their place. They've been hard to beat. I do fancy Leicester at home, even though actually when they had a couple of easy games, they lost one and then got a late winner from the man that would be my Baldwin, which is Mahrez. But I'll stick with I've got the 3 Leicester boys because of their run, and Mahrez will be my Baldwin, and that game will be exciting, I think, because Newcastle are there or thereabouts. You could argue Leicester are on the beach, or do they really want Europe? But as Dale mentioned, and we've said it before, Vardy wants that place, that starting place in the England lineup. Mahrez wants to, Barcelona, wherever he wants to go. So I see them going. Pictures I like, Arsenal, Southampton. I think Arsenal are going to turn it on. We said that before. I hate every single derby that is happening this week. I don't like Chelsea, West Ham. I don't like Everton, Liverpool. I don't like United City. Not from an FPL point of view. Everton, Liverpool, I don't like from a football point of view, just because I hate those games. Well, I like them, but I hate them at the same time. I'm expecting some rotation. Apart from that, Bournemouth, Crystal Palace. I can just see it being 3-3 because both teams can't defend.
Nice one, Marzi. Noob, FBL and FBL Academica were asking about sticking with Aubameyang or going back to Salah. I know a lot of people still are basically decided weeks ago that they were just going to leave their captaincy on Mo Salah whenever he's playing, and you haven't gone wrong if you've done that all year. But what's your thoughts, Marzi? Is there an argument for going to Salah this week over Aubameyang? With his ownership being so high, when you don't captain Salah, and if Aubameyang was to blank, then it could obviously be a bit disastrous.
It could be, but it's a risk you're taking. If you're chasing, then it's an absolutely calculated risk to take, just like we did last week. It helped me cut big leads in my mini league because everybody else went Salah. If you're not, and if you're trying to hold rank, there's no need to take risks at this stage. Salah will most likely deliver. Have a good vice captain in case Salah doesn't play, but I doubt it. I think he will play some part of the game, and we've seen him come on before and score a couple, or before he leaves. If he leaves early, he would have already done the damage. So, it really depends on your position.
Good stuff. Thanks, Marzi. That's all we've got time for tonight on the Three Amigos FPL show. Thanks a million to this week's honorary amigo, Danny, who you can all follow, of course, at Danny Jamieson, and keep an eye out for his videos and stuff for the official FPL channel. Thanks to you all for listening, sharing and liking the pod. Get following our group Twitter account at 3 Amigos FPL, Mars at Mars05, Dale at Chef Dale H, and myself at FPL Marple. Thanks for listening. Booyah.
One for each other and all for one. The three brave amigos are we. Brother to brother and everyone, a brave amigo.